Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to another casted game of Stormgate. This time we've got one between VortiX playing as the Infernals up here in the top right, throwing down his first Iron Vault, and down in the bottom left we have MaNa. So this game, guys, is actually from the Stormgate Nexus tournament that was going on rather, I should say, just this weekend. Massive shout out, by the way, to Beowulf and the rest of the team there at Stormgate Nexus. Also, everybody else who was involved with all of the casting. Really, really great production. If you guys missed it over on Twitch, I'm going to link Beowulf's Twitch down below because they did an excellent job. The production value of this tournament was way higher than I ever imagined, and I had an absolute blast watching some of the games this weekend. However, I didn't catch all the games, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and cast some of the games that I didn't manage to catch here because I heard that they were all very good. So, like I said, VortiX versus MaNa, these two players barely really need any introduction. We all know VortiX. He seems to dabble in any RTS game that comes his way, and he has an uncanny ability to just pick things up very quickly, just off the cuff, and come out with some very interesting new strategies. He's always kind of the first one who figures out the game, right? He just knows how to get strategies that are going to win tournaments. And MaNa, very solid RTS player, of course, himself. Both these guys have been heavily playing StarCraft 2 in the past. He's, of course, playing for Team Liquid here. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I think MaNa, he's like the leader, like the coach of Team Liquid at the moment. So he's kind of, you know, backing up Clem and the rest of the boys there. I'm not massive into the StarCraft scene. I do watch some games, guys, but, you know, feel free to correct me down below there if I'm wrong. But MaNa, he's been very strong here playing Stormgate. So pretty standard stuff at the moment. Nobody really doing anything too funky. We have a Creation Chamber Power Surge here for MaNa. One more on the way. Just doing a bit of light creeping there. Taking that health camp. A Shroud Stone, though, going down here for VortiX. I keep calling him VortiX. I don't know why, guys. It's just so similar in my brain to the word Vortex, which isn't even a word, but I digress. So this is going to cause MaNa to float his collection array away, which is a major pain. We've seen this a lot from Infernal players going up against Celestials. It's a pretty common thing to do, and VortiX is going to be going ahead and expanding behind this. So, you know, great tactic here, trying to do some early economical damage to your opponent, and then you're going to try and come out ahead behind this. Looks like MaNa's going to deal with this without much of a fight, though. You know, got a couple of Argents up there. A few more now on the way, so this isn't going to pose a real problem. He has floated the collection array back here. It does take a little bit of time, notice, guys, to actually plant this one down and get it mining again. They have lowered that, though. It used to be way longer, but I don't think this is going to harm MaNa all too much. And we're going to see what he's planning to apply here. Oh, what is going on here? Okay, he's sending the Arc Ship actually towards sort of the middle here, so I'm wondering what he's got planned. It's not really too much of a vulnerable position to be in with the Arc Ship, because this map has a long route all the way around it here. You know, you do have to take out these trees, or these trees up here, and you also have to take out trees there to get through the middle. So even if the Arc Ship is somewhere here, and that's exactly what MaNa is doing, it looks like he wants to take that Luminite camp there. He's not too afraid of VortiX coming in here and sniping his Arc Ship or anything. In any case, Gaunts aren't the best snipers of Arc Ships. So second Conclave. No, is that the first? That's the first Conclave, actually. He got a pretty early expand here, did VortiX. I keep calling him VortiX. I'm sorry, guys. I really just cannot stop it. These Fiends are not going to get anything done there. I think there's way too many Argents from MaNa for him to deal with this. And if we take a look at supplies as well, MaNa is actually slightly ahead here. Again, I'd really like to get some sort of an economy tab. That would be really nice to see, especially in this game, because the economy of Stormgate is so complicated. Not only do you have the Luminite mining and the Therium mining, but you've got all of these towers. And if we have a look here, you know, what has VortiX got? He's got 2 speed camps. Very good for the Fiends there. It's going to give you a passive speed buff. But MaNa is actually going to waltz straight into the natural here, coming in with some very early pressure. Pretty much just breaking down the door, and the timing here is absolutely beautiful. VortiX just getting up his production now, and this is one of the weaknesses of the Infernal race. It is going to take you a while to get that production up and working, especially if you decide to take an early expansion as VortiX has here, and this is just not enough, man. I mean, MaNa has so many Argents here. He's easily able to snipe off any gaunts that are going to cause him any problems. Shroudstone Manifestation goes down. I don't even think... Maybe MaNa is smart to run away from this. I feel like my instinct, and obviously I'm not MaNa, but my instinct would have been just to press into that and snipe it off before it could really get any damage done. But he thinks the better of it. He's floated the Arc ship all the way up to the front now, putting down another creation chamber. And honestly, MaNa's economy is nothing to write home about. He's got a couple of prisms there. He's got 2 collection arrays. And yeah, that's literally it. And the amount of Argents he's actually managed to get out here is pretty surprising. Like, MaNa's macro must have been on point this game. Despite, and let's remember, VortiX got that nice snipe there. And, you know, he's going to have to leave the game here and give this one to MaNa, despite this early game harassment. So, MaNa is too good of a player to be fooled by an early Shroudstone in his main base. Anyway, we're going to move on to game number 2, guys, and see how VortiX decides to respond to this one. Alright, guys, so here we go, game number 2, this one on Isle of Dread. Very interested to see, is VortiX going to go for that same early imp across the map? It's a much bigger map, so I'm going to say no, but it looks like I would be wrong. He's actually going to be sending 3 imps to... Well, okay, make that 2 imps. Yeah, that one's going to be going into an Iron Vault there, so, ooh, interesting. Double Iron Vault and double imp going out across the map here. He's going to be setting the Hexen, of course, just to do a little bit of early harassment. Meanwhile, MaNa's going to take his very first Morph Core and build this creation chamber all the way across the other side of the pond there. That's kind of interesting. Also getting down a Guardian Nexus, so we are going to be seeing some Kree coming out of him here, but is that going to be enough to hold this? I think VortiX is kind of expecting that he's gone collection array first, though, and that's why he's sending the 2 imps. He probably is thinking to set one there and then the other one there, as we see a lot of Infernal players doing. But VortiX must be pretty confident. I mean, this tactic ultimately failed in the last game for him, but instead of thinking, okay, I need to do something else here, this isn't going to work against MaNa, yes, he just thinks the complete opposite and says, you know what, I'm just going to double down, and instead of getting 1 imp, we're going to go for 2. And he's running straight past scouting of any natural base here, so his actual plan all along is just to go straight into the main and get both of these Shroud Stones down. There goes one, and there goes the other one. So how is MaNa going to deal with this? He does have that very, very early creation chamber, and he is getting the early Krees out here, so Krees, very, very good against Fiends, guys. Argents, pretty terrible against Fiends, but Krees, absolutely amazing. Sovereign's Watch, I should say, does go down there, and that is going to fend off the attack a little bit. I want to say just in time for him to get out enough Krees. So obviously MaNa's plan here was just to creep the speed camp nice and early. It's kind of becoming a bit of a pain. I'm not sure, I probably missed that there, I'm not sure how those got aggroed onto him. Maybe VortiX did that on purpose, but in any case, that's definitely not the position that MaNa wants to be in at the moment. He wants to be probably using these Krees to actually get over here and defend this. Remember, there is that double Iron Vault, so there are a lot of Fiends making their way across the map as VortiX just instantly splits them. The Kree rollout just manages to finish there before the Guardian Nexus goes down. But that's okay, we don't need a Guardian Nexus to make Kree, we just need it for the upgrade. So I think VortiX maybe thinks he got the snipe on that one. Little does he know that he doesn't have it. And these Fiends are actually going to be shut down pretty quickly. You only need maybe 2 or 3 Krees out there. But what is this? MaNa's actually just going to go straight across the map and do a counter. So we have a base trade situation on our hands. Power bank goes down. And MaNa's actually not even in the yellow here. Oh my god, he's also lost the collection array. Or did he float it away? He's floated away the prism. Oh, I think MaNa's completely screwed here, man. I really think he should have taken the Krees and defended. Like, that first Kree that came out, I think he should have taken it and gone after those Fiends just to do as much damage as he could there. Oh, beautiful surround there on that first Kree. Only 2 left, and I just don't see any way out of this game for MaNa now. 2 Kree, unfortunately, as good as they are with their Roly Boy claws. Oh, he did actually get out of the collection array. That's nice. I don't think it's enough to really do any serious damage to this base. Second one goes down, and the third one goes down, and quick count on the imps here. It looks like there's around 8 or so, which is pretty consistent with doing some early aggression like this, where you cut all of your imps, and you just start building brutes and going across the map. VortiX does take over the speed camp there, and he's actually just going to run away. I guess there's not really a lot you can do with Fiends. Everything else for the Celestial player is floating here. And I will say this about MaNa. He is probably one of the players... This base has been completely abandoned, of course, now. He's one of the players that really embraces, I feel, the movement and let's call it the lack of home that the Celestials have as their sort of unique ability, right? When we talk about the Celestials and being able to build anywhere on the map, I think a lot of players are still somewhat stuck in their old RTS ways where they like to have a home base still. They like to cling on to this starting area. But I've noticed that MaNa is extremely comfortable with just abandoning his starting area and saying, I don't even care, man. Home is where the heart is. I make my home wherever I go. I don't, like, that starting area has no special sentiment or meaning to me whatsoever. And we're probably going to see some more play out of him in that regard there. So, VortiX decides he's just going to macro up behind this. He's not going to press his advantage too much here. He says, the good old tactic, you know, when you're ahead, get more ahead. He's running around the map here, going to be taking more of these camps. And remember, guys, whenever you take a camp in Stormgate, not only does it give you more resources, not only does it give you a buff, but it also gives you passive buff as well. So if he takes both of the speed camps here, he's going to have double the speed camp regeneration. Or I should say the speed camp buff there. A little bit faster movement speed. He is going to be forced, maybe, to lift off with his collection array here. Nope, Sovereign's Watch goes down there. He's going to get rid of the Fiends for now. But Sovereign's Watch doesn't last an eternity anymore. It's only, I believe, 20 seconds or so. And this is going to push VortiX away for the time being. But, you know, he's doing pretty good here. He's gotten the Conclave down. He's got a Greater Shrine coming out here as well. There is no Ritual Chamber at the moment, which is... Maybe we should be seeing that going down any second now. I wonder what he's doing with his Greater Shrine then. Normally, you want to be getting this at a similar time to the Ritual Chamber, so you can sort of get your Reaper's Rush upgrade going early enough, but you don't need that one for Plague Axes anymore, so... What is he actually up to with that? Very confusing, by the way. I don't know why it goes blue when you get the Greater Shrine. I think this is some sort of a weird bug there. Now it's gone red again. But in any case, don't worry, that is not, in fact, MaNa's Shrine. But there is not a single unit out yet for MaNa, I don't believe, unless there are some gaunts that actually shoots air. So there's not really much he can do against even a Morph Core. Oh, and I guess MaNa just leaves the game there. I really wish we could see in replays who actually, like, concedes the game. It says MaNa left first there, and obviously MaNa is seriously behind, so... VortiX gonna take this up to 1-1. Let's see how this one continues. So here we are, guys. Everybody's favorite map for game number 3. Broken Crown. The vanilla flavor, I feel, of Stormgate. At least for me, most of the beta tests were played with only this map in the map rotation. So for anybody who didn't play in any of the beta tests, yes, we had to play this map every single game that you played of Stormgate, which I actually don't think is a bad idea. Same thing here coming out of VortiX, by the way, guys. So he says, hey, it worked for me once, maybe it's going to work again. And definitely a little bit more favorable for it to actually work on this map because the rush distances are so much smaller here. Collection array coming out of the first Morph Core here for MaNa. So question is he going to go for one on the natural, one on the main, or just go for two in the main again? And let's see if he manages to take this. Bear in mind, guys, both these players have won tournaments in Stormgate, right? There was a show match, I forget the gaming event it was, but when Stormgate did some sort of a reveal, okay, he is going to go for one at the natural this time. Yeah, they did some sort of reveal. MaNa won a show match there against Moon. Just the other day, we saw VortiX won the Take TV tournament as well. Granted, he was probably the strongest player at that tournament by far, so it wasn't really a massive surprise to anyone either, but I would say that these two players are very evenly matched. VortiX has been at the top of the leaderboard, though, for quite some time, so he is a very, very good player, and he's probably really cemented this build as being extremely strong here against the Celestials. However, this time he has gone for this different decision to split the Shroud Stones. So now we've got a similar situation for MaNa here, not quite as early of a creation chamber as he did go for the collection array with the very first Morph Core, so he doesn't have as many Argents out here, but he's got two of them up now, and if he's going to manage to power surge this one, which I guess he's opting not to do because he's on yellow power at the moment, This... Oh, the Argent's maybe going to go down here. A couple of Fiends on him. Is he going to manage to take that out? The Hexens actually don't really deal too much damage, but that Argent is going to go down there, which has got to hurt MaNa. Okay, the power bank goes down here, so he's now in red power, which is going to slow his production even more. And VortiX is just going to continue to pick off each one of these Argents as they come out of the creation chamber. I really feel like MaNa maybe sort of power surged this earlier, even if it meant going into the red, and got out some more Argents. He's kind of falling behind here a little bit with VortiX going for the same tactic just because he went Collection Array first. So he went for the most economic build, and now he's getting punished for it. I think this is his only option. He really needs to store up or save up a couple more Argents so that he really has some firepower to go at this and poke in and get some damage done. Otherwise, these Fiends are just going to tear him apart. Although, it doesn't really look like VortiX is reinforcing too much across the map. He has gone for the same 2 Iron Vaults, but I think, like, apart from the first 2 Fiends that are there, there's 2 more coming in now, but there really hasn't been a whole lot more. Notice as well, keeping the Arc Ship there, reinforcing with that heal. Shroudstone goes down. Whoa, there's a weird bug at the moment. Apologies for that, guys. Whenever you kind of scroll to the bottom of the screen, it carries on scrolling even when you move the mouse up. So don't worry, it's not me derping out. It's just some weird issue with the game. So this Collection Array here does have to float away, but you know what, on Broken Crown, not really that big of a deal, because look at the distances between these 2 Luminite mines. You float it up there, and you're good to go, and now there is a completely wasted Shroudstone. I think I'm just going to have to not click the mouse down in the bottom of the screen there, guys. It doesn't seem to want to play ball with me. Nice play here from VortiX, though. He's just going to come in there. He anticipates this, of course, forcing another lift off. And that actually does hurt whenever you have to lift this off. I think it's something like 20 seconds. Maybe 15 seconds. Something like that before you can start mining again. It used to be longer. It was like 30 seconds, which was very, very painful for the Celestial player. So they did reduce that a little bit in the most recent patch. But it still hurts. It's definitely not great for your economy. But at the moment, MaNa does have a few Argents out here on the map. The supplies don't really tell the truth because I don't think the Celestials really use as much supply in terms of workers. The Collection Arrays, as far as I know, don't count towards supply, only the Prisms, and since he doesn't have any Prisms to mine, it sort of looks like MaNa is way behind in army supply, and he definitely is behind in army supply, but not as much as it looks here. Nice surround, though, coming in here by VortiX. He's gone and taken one of the speed camps, and so that's going to enable him to get some pretty easy surrounds on those super slow-moving Argents. And again, this is not looking great for MaNa. I don't think VortiX is really in a position to just outright kill him, but he's wasted so much mining time. He's killed a number of Argents, right? I mean, how many picks did he get at the start of the game? There was like 2 or 3 Argents that went down there. You don't recuperate those losses. He's going to be forced to lift off for the 3rd time here. And again, economic loss there. So really, in the beginning of the game, it's super, super important that you don't lose your starting units, especially when you have a low economy and you can't really afford a lot, because it just means when it comes to the decisive battle, you're not going to have enough. This is kind of a ballsy move here from MaNa. He's gotten out a Morph Core and placed down a Creation Chamber super close to VortiX's base. This is going to get focused down here by VortiX. There's no way that anything is going to get out of this forward position. And he's just going to run away. He doesn't really have to engage these Argents yet. He can wait until they move up onto the Shroud when he's got a little bit more to defend there. And if you are an Infernal player, you of course want to fight on the Shroud if you can. Ritual Chambers coming down. He already has the Greatest Shroud, Shrine, I should say. Jesus, I can't speak, guys. Shroudstone goes down, and yeah, MaNa just leaves the game, man. He realizes that there's just no way he's pushing into this base. VortiX is way too far ahead economically once again, and this is actually looking pretty bleak for MaNa. Let's see in game number 4 here, if he can find an answer to this. I'm almost 100% sure VortiX is going to go for the same thing. So game number 4, guys. Jagged Maw. Interesting map. A very controversial map, I feel, as well. Loved by some, hated by others. But let's see if MaNa is going to be able to bring this one back. It is game point at the moment. He cannot lose this, or he loses the best of 5. So big pressure on him. But if anybody can do it and find an answer, I think it is MaNa. He is a great reactionary player. He loves to just see what the enemy are doing and figure out, you know, he may not do it super quick, like he's obviously lost the 2 games, but make no mistake, MaNa is thinking about this. He's had time between the games and he's pondering to himself, what is the answer to this? There has to be a way to get this rush and deal with it without losing economically. But the same thing is coming out of VortiX here. Only the 1 Iron Vault though, it looks like, interestingly enough. But we are going to see those 2 imps going across the map. Most likely 1 at the natural, as MaNa has decided to go for the collection array early here. Creation Chamber comes down. So let's see what the difference is going to be here. Is he going to go for the second Creation Chamber? I say he's going to stay on 1 chamber. He's going to surge it. And he's just going to try to pump Argents out of that. He's only got 50 Luminite spare here. VortiX does go for the single on each expansion there. Still only 1 Iron Vault though here for VortiX. The 2 Fiends coming in there right on time. Now this is really the crucial moment. MaNa absolutely has to keep this first Argent alive. He is actually going to go ahead and now finding the excess Luminite to plop down another Creation Chamber, build that second one. The Sim City's a little bit better though here. He could actually block this off with a couple of Argents and maybe gain some advantage there. But 2 Argents actually out now, so you know, VortiX hasn't managed to find the surround. In the last game, he managed to push one of these Argents into a corner somewhere down there, for example. That's how he really called it out with the Fiends and the Hex and doing enough damage to outright kill it. But nice micro coming out of MaNa here. He is going to almost take down the Shroud Stone. What are the health on these Argents? 70 on that one, 180 on the other. But again, the Arc Ship is overhead, bringing support and healing these Argents up. And now he's actually got 3 of them. So MaNa is looking way, way better in this situation. Of course, that liftoff is still going to be forced on the collection array. It's getting pretty low right now, so MaNa can't risk it anymore. 4 Argents out now. He thinks right now that VortiX still has these Fiends outside the natural, so he doesn't want to run all the Argents up here. But in actuality, VortiX has called off this attack. He realized, okay, this one didn't go that well. He's done the same tactic, right? He's expanded behind this. So this pretty much just seems to be VortiX's tactic for this matchup, right? If he's going to be playing against the Celestials, he's going to go for this Shroud Stone attack. Apparently, economically, that seems to be worth it. You're going to do enough economical damage to the Celestial player by forcing the liftoff, forcing them into a lot of early Argents here that you're able to get a quick expand behind this. But VortiX may well find a rude awakening, a rude surprise coming his way, as MaNa has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Argents here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Argents, in fact, coming his way. The Conclave does now go down, but remember, this time he only went for the single Iron Vault instead of the double Iron Vault. So the Conclave is going to be a little bit quicker, or the Shrine, I should say, probably came down a little bit quicker, but he's going to have that much less to reinforce with. And look at this, a 3rd Creation Chamber coming out of MaNa. Really, if you've got 3 Creation Chambers, you want to have 3 collection arrays for this build, but since this didn't really go to plan for MaNa, he can just make do with 2 collection arrays, and he's going to be using this with the Prime there to get some Argents out nice and close. Also putting down a couple of power banks here, 3 power banks in fact, so these are going to be constantly recharging the energy on the Argents. Not only the Argents, but probably he's brought over the Arc Ship as well, so he can get some heals off. Smart move here by VortiX. He wants to really get these power nodes down, or the power banks down. And he's really utilizing the speed of the Fiends here. He knows, right, MaNa can't really catch him up. There's nothing he can do. He's going to, oh no, not going for the run by into his base there. Actually going to return and try and terrorize those power banks a little bit more. But I don't really think VortiX has what he needs to deal with this. There's a meat farm going down there. Right now, he is only 2 production structures to 3. And bear in mind, guys, MaNa, as the Celestials player, he doesn't have to spend anything on food, right? He doesn't have to build meat farms the same way VortiX does. You already get 300 supply. So once you get to this state, your power's stable, you've got enough power to keep on pumping out these Argents, you can spend every single piece of Luminite on building Argents. And that's exactly what MaNa is doing right now. And he's taking an incredibly decisive fight here. There are quite a few Fiends there. That's sort of the brunt of the army against the Argents. The Argents, they do, of course, heavy damage against heavy units, but not so much against the Fiends or the Gaunts. So the only thing they're really effective against is the brutes, but it doesn't really matter if you have the numbers. So he's going to be able to target down these gaunts nice and easy. The Hexen is going to go down in a second as well. And I just don't think VortiX is going to have enough to hold on. He's barely clinging on right now by the skin of his teeth. MaNa doesn't quite have enough to overpower him. But as time goes on, the production is going to go in MaNa's way because he just has better economy. He's still just got the two... Yeah, okay, still just on the 2 collection arrays back home. And you might say, okay, well, VortiX has an expansion. But look, there's only 2 imps mining expansion. He does need to be careful, though, here. He could easily be surrounded. But GG is called, and VortiX is going to lose this game. So MaNa takes it up to 2-2. Okay, guys. Final map. Boneyard. VortiX is in the top right. And what is he doing? He's sending a Hexen. And he's sending a single imp. Interesting. Collection array coming out of MaNa here once again. Guys, before we get into this game, don't forget, if you enjoy the content here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button. That is always majorly appreciated. Helps out the channel so much. And there will be plenty more Stormgate content to come from me here in the future. Obviously more casts, but also build orders, guides, news, everything you could possibly want. Maybe except ice cream. I can't give you any of that, but you know, everything else you can find here on the channel. So as always, guys, thanks for the support. I really do appreciate it. So MaNa is going to see this incoming here. This is, by the way, I don't think I mentioned, but this is the quarterfinals, guys. So, or is it the semifinals? Yeah, this is the quarterfinals. I'm getting confused. So, because it's a best of 5. Normally, semifinals are best of 5s. In this tournament, the quarterfinals is a best of 5. The semis and the finals are actually going to be best of 7s. So, those are going to be some really insane series. I'm going to try to cast as many of these on my channel here as I can. Hopefully, we're going to get through all of them before the patch runs out. Because, you know, what always happens is Frost Giant comes along and they make a new patch. And then all of the replays break. And if I haven't finished casting the games by then it's tough luck, I'm afraid. So, this is very confusing to me. VortiX is kind of going for the same tactic, but if MaNa dealt with this when there were 2 imps, why would he not be able to deal with this extremely easily when there's now only 1 imp? Maybe he thought MaNa was going to be fooled out of not going for that second collection array there super early in the game because he thought VortiX would go for the double imp. But he doesn't seem worried at all. This Shroud Stone is going to go down here. This is pretty much a failed attack by VortiX, and he's actually going to go for that shrine again. So, if I'm MaNa right now, I'm thinking, okay, this definitely wasn't worth it for VortiX. He wasted some fiends. He wasted an imp. And an imp at the early game, remember guys, an imp doesn't sound like a lot because it's only 50 aluminum. But in the early game, taking one of your 8 imps and sending it across the map is a big deficit there for your economy. And remember, he's not been creeping either. Just now he's starting to creep at the same time as MaNa. So, you know, even though MaNa's had a major attack on his base here, it's not really made much of a difference to him there. I love MaNa's positioning as well with the creation chambers. Like, he always has one here between the bases. Like, you can just see how well thought out this is, right? This one's positioned to protect either the main base or the natural, and this one's slightly more forward, not super far away, but it is going to allow him to get down and close to these creep camps so he can start to get some of this Luminite going here. And already, like, MaNa's macro is always spot on. He's got both of these surged here, and the amount of Argents that he gets up to in the early game is pretty staggering. It's quite the scary number. Argents don't really do very well in the mid-game, especially not against Infernals. Once you start to see Plague Axes come out, once Magmadons come out, especially once the Gaunts have a sizable number and they've got Reaper's Rush, that's when it starts to get very scary if you just have Argents. But if you can get in there in the early game and you can actually get some damage done, you know, they really, in my opinion at least, are one of the best starting units here. And there is absolutely no defense at the natural here for VortiX. The Fiends are coming through here. What else have we got? We've got a Brute, We've got Conclave. The Ritual Chamber's going down, but MaNa is just hitting the perfect timing here. This Ritual Chamber isn't going to do anything unless this attack fails, of course. Shroud Zone Manifestation does go down here, and this time MaNa just decides to snipe it. And you can see there, it doesn't really have too much health. It does a lot of damage, but if you've got the Argent numbers, they're going to do some pretty heavy damage there to those buildings. Brute's going down here, and that's just going to be it, man. Wow. Okay, VortiX leaves. MaNa takes this series 3-2. I honestly expected this series to go on a little bit longer than it did, but hey, them's the breaks. I haven't watched these games before, guys, so I literally don't know what's going to happen. I try my best to pick series where I don't know how the games are going to go, because I feel like if I know what's going to happen, it doesn't really come across as being too natural. So let me know what you think down below. You know, that is going to result in some of the games being maybe a little bit more one-sided, a little bit more shorter than the games that I would have perhaps picked if I knew they were going to be great series. Or would you rather I just go through the series myself and like pick out the best ones and then cast them, even though I've essentially already watched them? Anywho, we're going to be moving on to another quarterfinal in the next video, guys. So if you aren't subscribed, make sure you hit that button down below. Leave a like on the video as well if you enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.